when your purpose is in action.
So I channel source consciousness.
So how did you get to this point?
A lot of people passed away in my life. There were many instances where I really felt the presence of someone who had passed away.
Hi everyone, my name is Margarita Graf. I created this podcast because I wanted to show people that the path to your calling is real. There is always a story behind it. Sometimes a hard one, sometimes unexpected, but always alive. My background in management and organizational leadership, I've always had a natural ability to create the conditions for others to grow and show up fully. And at some point, I realized that was my calling too. This podcast, it is a continuation. So as a hypnotherapist, I came to this not by the accident. And when you're a practitioner, it is 100% something interested behind it. So I want to talk to people who found their purpose in helping others and make sure they share how they found it. I'm pretty sure so many of you are still trying to unfold it, so these videos might be helpful. Each episode is for someone who feels ready for something more. And let's say someone working full time and thinking about something completely different. Someone already helping people, but not yet calling it their work. So today's guest story might be exactly what that person needs to hear. So please welcome today's guest, Jessica. Jessica, thank you so much for joining my very first of my series Purpose in Action podcast. And it is a pleasure to have you here. So please tell us where you're from and based right now.
It's an honor to be your first one. Very exciting. I am from the Bay Area, which is in Northern California originally, and spent 8 years down in San Diego going to college and doing things like that afterwards. And then I came back to the Bay Area, and now I'm in the foothills of Northern California near El Dorado Hills.
Nice, nice. So if you couldn't use your job title, how would you describe what you do? Like, what do people feel when your purpose is in action?
We can talk about just that for hours. So I channel source consciousness and guides and angels and loved ones. And I combine that with the knowledge I've gained from my lived experiences and from my expansion and the codes that I've activated within myself to collapse timelines and help others alchemize their pain into purpose, receive clarity, and wake up to who they truly are underneath the conditioned programming and the limiting beliefs they've inherited from the world.
Got it. So you've mentioned you did it for yourself at first. So how did you get to this point? So tell me the story.
So, gosh, where do I begin? So I grew up with a lot of grief. A lot of people passed away in my life, and I didn't go to therapy or anything to deal with that. And so when I was imagining that I was talking to people that had passed away, I kind of just thought, people tell me that's not real. There's no way I could actually be doing that. I must be pretending to deal with my grief. So I never fully believed that's what I was doing and that's what I was capable of. Mm-hmm. But throughout my life, there were many instances where I really felt the presence of someone who had passed away. So I carried that with me throughout life, but I had lots of traumas to overcome. My dad left when I was 3. I had issues with bullying in school. I had body image issues, all the things. And so I put on a very confident facade to people, but inside, I really felt like I was battling the illusions of worthiness and that my self-esteem was really low. And I was always searching for something, and I felt like there was something missing. But throughout my life, I still had these moments where things would happen and they would be undeniable, right? I would know that someone's presence was there, or a synchronicity would happen and it would just be so wild. And I wouldn't be able to explain it with like the logical scientific mind.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years ago, I decided, I'm married, I love my husband, I have two beautiful children, I love what I do for work, and I'm still feeling like I'm repeating these patterns that I don't want to repeat. I'm going back to visiting old wounds when I just don't want to anymore. And I decided to sit with plant medicine, and that was the most profound day of my entire life. That's the day everything changed.
Wow. So it seems like you went through a lot. It feels like it. So
Yeah.
was there a moment, you mentioned already a few things, but what was the exact moment when you knew this is it? Or did it come gradually? Or what was the
Um,
most significant for you?
the moment I knew I was actually channeling, or the moment I knew I needed to heal, or the moment I knew things were
The
that they were changing.
moment you started uh, feeling those sensations and understand that whatever you're seeing, it's not just your perspective, it is
Oh,
real.
okay. So there were some really incredible experiences that were just undeniably source. I worked at a preschool for 8 years before I moved here in Berkeley, California, and I was driving to work one day and I saw an accident happen in my rearview mirror that hadn't happened. It was very fleeting. I saw a motorcycle sideswipe the car behind me and it hadn't happened. And so I continued to drive through this intersection thinking that's really crazy. That was wild. Okay. And I went to work and I knew that one of the moms of the preschoolers there was really stressed out. So I offered to watch both of her children on Mother's Day the next day. And I didn't have kids of my own at the time. So I normally wouldn't be placed back in that area on a Saturday or on the weekend, but I was because I had volunteered. And so as I was back in that same area, I was driving through that intersection and that exact accident happened right behind me and I was first on scene.
Wow, I
And
have
I was
chills.
blown yeah, I was blown away. I didn't know at the time that magic of that magnitude was possible because that's just simply not something you can explain away by coincidence. I'm sorry, but you just cannot.
Yeah,
And it also made sense to me why it happened while I was there and why I was the first one on scene because the car that got hit had two parents in the front seat that were deaf and couldn't communicate to the preschool aged children that were in the back seat. And so the children were freaking out. And I had to check with the parents, they hit their head, but they were okay. And I had to go back and open the sliding door on the van and talk to the children and make sure they knew their parents were okay because their parents weren't able to communicate with their hearing children at the time. So it just all made sense to me, like why I saw it. It like almost like energetically prepared me for it. And
yeah.
then it was a gift to show me that the magic is real and then also that they needed me to be there. I was able to explain to the children, the fire truck's going to come and it's going to make this really amazing sound and it's going to come and help you. And I was able to explain it in a way that made the children less scared because I was a preschool teacher. So
Wow.
it all made sense, right place, right time. But that was one of the experiences that just floored me. And then, there are so many, but I would say that shortly after that one and this other experience, now I've had countless experiences. I could talk about them for hours that really validate that the magic is real from the unseen. But the second one was I was on a plane flying from Northern California to Portland, Oregon. I was going to meet a friend there who's going to fly up there from San Diego. It was my 30th birthday. I wanted to go see a new city. She was going to run a half marathon while we were there. And as I was sitting on the plane waiting for it to take off, I realized that throughout my entire life, every time I got on a plane, I was afraid I was going to die on the plane.
Hmm.
Something happened in that moment where I felt an energy wash over me and I was no longer afraid to die on a plane. And I remember talking to God, but having a, a conversation inside my head with God because I hadn't talked to God in a very long time. And I said to myself, God, whatever you may be, thank you so much for this feeling and this knowing that even if I were to die on the plane today, it's okay. We all have a time and I'm held and I'm loved and it's okay. And I've never felt this way before. It's such a relief. Thank you so much. And 5 minutes later, the plane took off and the sun was above the clouds. So it was beautiful. So I got my little Canon digital camera out
Mm-hmm.
and I started taking pictures. Um, Hard to imagine a world before the iPhone, but I was taking pictures out of the window just because it was so beautiful because the sun was above the clouds. And I didn't see anything strange at the time. I really just saw the sun above the clouds and it looked like heaven. And I took several pictures. And then, when you had a digital camera, you would go right away and look through all of the pictures. So
Right.
after I did that, I had my camera and I was looking through the pictures I took, and it was the sun and the sun and the sun. And then I just, I was, I don't even have the words for it. Jesus's face is in front of the clouds.
Wow.
And I'm like, hold on, hold on. No, this is impossible. This is absolutely impossible that I A, have a picture of Jesus, B, took it 5 minutes after talking to God, and C, didn't see it when I took the picture. So no, this can't be, this can't be. So I'm taking my hair, I'm literally trying to make a beard to see if it's like a reflection. I'm taking more pictures, nothing's happening. So I'm like, okay, the guy next to me probably looks like Jesus. And I haven't even looked at him yet. So I turn and it's this elderly man, short white hair, glasses. I'm like, I'm freaking out. First time I've even talked to this man, I go, I need to ask you a question. Do you see Jesus in this picture? And he looks down and he goes, yep, there he is. And he's all calm. And I'm like, I'm freaking out. He's like, why are you freaking out? I'm like, because I have a picture of Jesus. He's like, well, he's with you all the time. I'm like, okay, who's this guy that he's all calm and isn't even fazed by this, right? Like, he must be spirit too. Like, I'm just completely freaking out. And I'm going back through and I'm just noticing that it's this beautiful image of the sun above the clouds. And then in the picture right before I see Jesus, there's kind of like an aura appearing in just a little bit. And then boom, it's a blue orb, which is indicative of a spirit that's passed right next to his face in front of the clouds. It's completely changed my life. Completely
Wow.
changed my life. Those are the two stories where I was like, okay, I'm in. Show the magic to me all the time. I'll spread the word. I'll make sure people wake up to the magic that is around them and supporting them in the energetic realms and also tied to the magic that's within them.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. And this is incredible, profound experiencing God in action. And also the
Insane.
story of yours, which you just shared at first, that was really purpose in action. Even you haven't named it yet, probably because you're just realizing, oh, I am a teacher. That's how the
Totally.
mind, right, usually
Yeah.
works. I have this ability to do this, and that. But if we connect these two stories, it is like a clear direction how God
Calling.
guide you and
Mhm.
bring
Yeah.
you in right exact time to help this child. Oh my gosh, I'm just literally shaking. Wow, thank you
I
so
know,
much.
you're right. In hindsight, all the things that ever happened that were so magical were all source saying, "Hello, this is your gift. This is
Wow.
your path and your purpose. This is what you're going to use to change the world." And it wasn't until my medicinal experience 3 years ago where
Mhm.
I actually fully woke up to that and realized. And I was a hell yes that day, and I've been a hell yes ever since.
I was gonna ask actually. So it's it's truly magical. So back to this 3 years ago story.
Yeah.
What did you leave behind to get there? Because you said it was a
Oh
lot of
God.
patterns, a lot of things you've been like
Oh,
going and realizing. So what was it?
what did I leave behind? Every time you come to the edge of a threshold and you choose expansion, it's like an ego death. It's an identity death. The old
100%.
identity has to die in order for you to step into your higher alignment. And even when you do that, it's going to happen again at some point. And there's going to be another identity death, and you're going to have to step into another higher alignment. And it's such a gift to be able to do that and recognize when that moment is occurring and to choose yes. It's also not the most comfortable experience. It's learning how to be downloaded with all of this new knowledge and these new levels of expansion and these gifts that come online and these parts of you that have been lying dormant that now awaken and you start to remember, and becoming aligned with the fifth dimension, not just the 3D world, and then having to continue having your children ask you for a snack every 5 minutes, and having a conversation with a teacher, and driving in traffic and doing all the 3D things, right? While navigating with like this stuff you can't unsee. So that in itself is a whole thing, but also your limiting beliefs have to go. Your lack mindset has to go. Your relationship with things like money sometimes have to change.
Right.
Your your subconscious programming, you start to realize most of the time the patterns that you're repeating that you don't want to repeat are not even yours to carry. They've been inherited, whether that's by ancestors, past lives, your family, your culture, your inherited programming from the world.
Yes.
It's not a reflection of who you actually are. And so as you start to become aware, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to change that. I don't even believe that about myself anymore. And so every time you up level is what I call it, you have to leave things behind that were part of your old identity.
Wow. Yeah, that resonates 100%. So I've been going through this type of cycles a few times too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the word to word you describe it, I had those feelings as well. And so, every single time I'm connecting with people like us, I always understand it's not by the accident. And thank you so
No.
much for sharing this out loud, because I cannot even imagine how many people are experiencing this and they're not even saying this. Maybe there's no one around them to share, or as you said,
Right.
everything gives an influence, right? The surroundings, family, even the city you live. So yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I've noticed that.
Mhm.
You're so welcome. It's an honor to even be able to be an expander for people. I've noticed that when people come to me for channeled readings, so many of them say one of two things. They're looking for clarity or
Mhm.
they feel stuck.
Okay. And what do you do exactly for work with them? Like, describe your client, not by demographics, right? But how they feel, what they're carrying.
I mean, I've had several different types of people come for a reading. Normally, it's one of three things. One, they would like to connect with a loved one that's passed away. The second type of soul that comes is usually someone who feels stuck. They're just like, I'm looking for something more. I'm not happy in my marriage, or I'm not happy in my job, or something just doesn't feel right anymore. I feel, um, sometimes to the point of like my soul is suffocating. Like I really don't feel aligned. And then the third type is the one who's standing at a threshold because they're seeing signs and synchronicities, and they're feeling this pull, and they're understanding and really feeling that there's something more to this world than just what we can see with our eyes, and so they want to tap more into that, and they want guidance from their spirit team. So those are usually the three. um, and when they come for clarity, the most beautiful thing happens. The guides mostly are like, they don't need more clarity. They know. No, they know. And when I say that, they react with such like, damn, I just was seen type of thing in a funny way, but like, you know the answer. You're just afraid to take the leap, or you're just afraid to make that big change, or you're just afraid to, it's the clarity they need to hear from the unseen in order to take action.
As a
And once they do,
confirmation,
it changes.
sort of.
Yeah, it changes their lives. The things that come through during the readings blow me away. I'm just as
Wow.
surprised by the magic as they are.
Wow. And I'm usually saying sometimes some of them are showing up with a symptom, right? And even if it's not the clarity question itself, you're the one who can light it up pretty much and highlight the right point, like where really the energy is and where the intention flows pretty much.
Yes, because it used to be where, I would really close my eyes, call the spirit guide that's in their highest good forward, and I would see it's a Native American, it's a wizard, it's a grandfather. And then my gifts evolved to the level where when I call in the guidance team, I kind of just see a field land and it's everyone that is supporting them from the beyond. And sometimes certain entities or certain people will step forward, but really it's like you're having a conversation like you are with me right now, but it's not just me speaking.
Exactly.
So, when I say, why your grandfather's here, who's Jewish? This just happened the other week, and she goes, my grandfather. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's here. Why is he showing me alteration scissors? Did he used to have an alteration shop? And she's like, oh my God. Yes, he had an alterations business that he passed down for generations. It's things like that, right? That leave them with the knowing that the magic is real. We're having
Yeah.
a conversation with Jessica, but Jessica doesn't know these things. So when I say I'm channeling in source consciousness, they validate in certain ways that the guidance is there,
Hmm.
and then that inherently kind of breaks down any walls they may have, and then the guidance can really come through of, you're ready for your next level, or you're supported, or you're actually a healer. The things that have been happening to you are actually your calling. And it can translate into, this is your purpose, or this is the next aligned action you need to take, or let's heal your grief wound a little bit by showing you that your loved one is still right here with you in energetic form. You just can't see them in the physical world. Any number of things can happen.
Yep. So, and I love the way how you mentioned a lot about guides, but also action, because I think a lot of people who really wanted to touch this water, but they never done with that, sometimes they might think, oh, I don't know what it's all about, what I can gain from it, right? So they would just like think that it's sort of conversation and things like that. So can we talk a little bit more about the changes, what happens exactly after working with you? What does transformation look like for people? And what kind of actions they're taking afterwards themselves?
Okay, so it depends on what type of work
Hmm.
we do together. So I hold these circles called sacred circles.
Hmm.
I hold them in person around many different places where I live, as well as I have a sacred membership. So every month I do a live virtual sacred circle, and then on another date I do a live virtual breathwork journey. And these sacred circles are a mixture of me sharing my stories, like I'm doing with you now, of my spiritual proof, how I know the magic is real, and then chakra balancing so we can clear the energy centers so that what's wanting to come in can flow with ease, and guided meditations. And there's a channeled soul level activation. So what the guides do is, for like the week, 2 weeks leading up to the circle I'm planning, they will point out all the golden threads that connect this one message they want the people to hear. So I'll read two books, and out of one book there'll be one paragraph and they say that. So then I circle that. And I'm listening to a song, they say that, and I remember the lyric. Something pops up on Pinterest, it's a quote, they're like that. And I just have all these things, and it's like, and I put it into this soul level activation where they're laying down and their eyes are covered, and I'm playing music and I'm speaking as me, but it's really the guides coming through all of these things that I'm reading to them, and it activates them on a cellular level. So some are very aware that, wow, that I feel like you were talking to me, or I really needed to hear that, or I felt this light come through, or maybe they don't notice anything in the moment, but subconsciously they're being shifted. So what I've heard from sacred circles are things like, I'm leaving with clarity that I was looking for. The intention I set to come to this circle, I totally know what I need to do next. I now feel more confident. One recently said, I now feel more confident making decisions for myself since my husband passed a year ago. I kind of felt like I was frozen in like this paralysis of having to make decisions he used to make. And now I
Mhm.
feel fully confident in making these decisions on my own. Lots of things come out of this. But really, if I had to like just kind of name one blanketed thing, I would just say that people, by saying yes to even coming to the sacred circle, they're saying yes to their guides and saying yes to knowing there's a little bit more than what they can see going on. And so they're saying they're open, no matter where they are in their journey, to waking up more and remembering more and to receiving assistance from the beyond. And so they leave with more clarity, or they leave lighter usually, and they leave knowing they're not alone. For my breathwork journeys, I do holotropic breathwork. That is a game changer. I discovered that last year and I just went running with it. I was like, everyone needs to know about this. This is insane. So like I said, I do it in my membership online, but I also do it around town. And then I do 3 or 4 groups a month at my home.
Mhm.
And what happens there is transformational is the only word I can think of right now, but it's next level. I had one woman say the first time at the end of a sacred circle, I kind of gently introduced holotropic breathwork just by putting in maybe 7 minutes of rapid breathing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you went on a full breathwork journey with me, you're breathing like that for like 18 minutes. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, I don't know what just happened, but I saw God standing over me and he was holding me and he was saying, breathe, child, you can breathe, I have you. And I realized in that moment, I have not been breathing normally or with ease for my entire life. And I just realized it's because I had severe asthma attacks from ages 0 to 5 that I never fully recovered from, that I have PTSD from.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened from my sacred circle and the field that's created there and the guidance that she allowed in. So then she started to come to my breathwork journeys. There are no words. She's not the same person. She's not the same person. And she's like the
Wow.
deepest breather of them all. And she's come so far and it's life changing.
It
It's
is.
completely life changing.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing not just like the journey you've experienced, but also the others through you. Because isn't that magical how you've experienced it, God yourself, and then you were this connector, right?
I
To
can't
show
think of anything
others.
I'd rather do in the entire world. Yeah, no, it's just, I can't, an honor feels so small, but it really is an honor to be someone's expander, to be the person that's going to help wake them up to their true value and worth and nature and magic and help them reconnect back to their intuition, and their life isn't the same after that. I had somebody walk up to me the other day and say, I am not the same person after having met you.
Wow.
And that's the greatest compliment you could ever receive, I feel like.
It is. It is. So, is there a client story that changed something in you?
Oh my gosh, they all do. Um, every transformation transforms me too, I swear. But if I had to pick just one off the top of my head,
Yeah, because I'm 100% sure we're all connected at some point.
totally. We're also all connected to source. So in that way, we're all connected, right? Source is like fragmented into all of us having a human experience so that source gets to experience this 3D world through each one of us. So we have to be connected. I would say that a woman and her daughter came, and her daughter wanted to gift her mother a reading for Christmas. So she brought her, and I want to say she's probably in her early 70s, and she had lost her husband a few years before that. And throughout our time together, so many things happened and so many people stepped forward. I mean, it's just so many tears and so many shifts. And she just left with this, her mother came forward, her husband came forward, her sister came forward, her mother came forward, and childhood wounds were healed. She explained that the woman who was here was explaining that she didn't feel like her mom treated her the same as she treated her sister, and that she was really hard on her, and she didn't really say she loved her that much, and she was really very emotional even at this age. And her mom said things like, I'm sorry, I understand on the other side now through your lens and your experience how that affected you. I really just wasn't comfortable being vulnerable because of the way I was raised, and I didn't have the tools or the resources to pull from to give you the affection and the attention and the words that you desired, because I only knew what I knew. And I do love you. And the reason that I paid more attention, or, what you think is gave more to your sister, is because you reminded me so much of myself, and I knew that you were strong enough to take care of yourself, and it was your sister I didn't really trust to have that ability. And I mean,
Wow.
everything changed for this woman. It was
Wow.
healing generational trauma and understanding why her mom was the way she was, and getting the love that she finally, was looking for all those years. And that was just one of the many things that were happening. It was like, what's going on with the acupuncture? Have you tried acupuncture? And she
Yes.
starts laughing, and she goes,
Mm.
oh, I was going twice a month, and then my insurance changed, so now I'm going once a month, but my knees are hurting. And they're like, yeah, get back to twice a month. It's just all these things that come through that change people. It's the gift of showing them that the magic is real, that there's so much more than what you can see, that you're not alone, that you're guided, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be in life, that this is all part of the journey, that you are held and loved and protected. It's it's magic.
So pretty much every single person gives this small or big change in you whenever you're working with them.
Yes, and then Source also has been showing me lately not to question the messages or the downloads I receive. So, for example, I was at a yoga class last week, and I didn't know much at all about the yoga instructor. And afterwards, I could feel that her husband was coming through. And I
Hmm.
said, do you have a husband that passed? And she said, yeah, I have a husband that died 2 years ago. And I said, oh,
Wow.
he's coming through right now. And she said, oh, that's crazy that you bring that up, because just a few days ago, I really felt him physically sitting on the bed. So much so that I had to sit up and like make sure no one was actually there. And then he said, John. And instead of saying, who's John? Or he said John, which I should have said, I said, what was his name? And she
Okay.
said, John. And I was like, oh my God, he just told me, I swear to you, he just told me that. But Spirit has been showing me recently, like, you should have just said John. You should have just trusted what you received. She would have been, I mean, she already was floored, right? But it would have made it even more meaningful for her that I said, he just said,
Yeah.
I'm John. She'd have been like, what? Right? Like, there's parts of me as a human that still go, well, I'm not sure that's his name. I just received John, but I don't know who John is. And so that's been happening lately for
Yeah,
me.
you're right. It's just a human mind, what always looking for sort of confirmation, as I
Yep.
mentioned. Um,
The proof, right?
the proof, right? But I think this is very important. Um, note as you just highlighted, just to trust the process and
I mean, and
just
that's for everyone to hear too, right? Trust the
yeah,
process, trust the hits you're getting, trust the things you think are signs. They
and
are.
not questioning the downloads, as you
You're gonna
said.
get you're gonna get so much further in your spiritual awakening, in your path, in your life, in your abundance, in the way you thrive in the life you're living, if you trust that every time you feel like, about something, it's a something.
Yeah, it is.
Explain it away. Don't try to logical it away.
Yeah, we also have this sentence in Russian exactly like if something seems like it, it doesn't seem like it. It is like that. So you don't have to question it. I think this is very important point you just brought up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yep. So, moving forward to unfolding more of who you are. So, if you could give one practice or tool to anyone who wants to grow in their consciousness and expand, what it would be. So, if you can walk us through it, like how does someone actually do this? Where do they start? And if they can just start today.
So I would say that when people say the word meditation, it kind of makes people go, "Oh, I can't do that because I can't quiet my mind." But I would say that it's very important to understand that success in meditation is not having no thoughts. I mean, that would be ideal for sure. But that's not where you're successful. Where you're successful when you are meditating is when you are aware that you're having the thoughts because you're going through life all day with a million thoughts and you're not pausing to be aware of them. Just like most people are not pausing to become aware of their breath until they sit and they start to breathe or they're following a guided meditation and then they're noticing their breath, right? Same with the thoughts. So if you're in sitting in silence, which I recommend for just 10 minutes a
Mm-hmm.
day, if you just take the time to sit in silence, notice your breath. Where does it live in your body? How does it feel while it's going in your nose? How does it feel while it's coming out of your mouth? Just focusing on the breath. If you start to go to your shopping list at Target, that's okay. Because at some point you're going to realize, oh, wait, no, back to the breath. That's the awareness. You're
Mm-hmm.
meditating. That's the awareness, back to the breath. The more that you practice, the more that you become aware and bring yourself back to the present moment, the better you'll get at meditating and the longer your periods of not having your thoughts pull you away will become. In doing that, even if you're a beginner, if you can do just a couple of things, sit in silence and try to focus on your breath and become aware when you have a thought. Those thoughts and those to-do lists and those things, I promise you, will still be there when you're done with the meditation. You can deal with them later. The other thing would be a longer exhale. I'm not sure that everybody knows that, but it calms your
Mm-hmm.
nervous system. And I really think that you're regulating your nervous system is at the core of literally everything. It's one of the most important things in life, period, which I learned when I was sitting with plant medicine. So, a longer exhale while you're sitting, focusing on your breath and becoming aware of your thoughts. And then the third thing is once you've been doing that for a few minutes, practice asking a question, even if you don't say it out loud and just sitting and seeing what answer you receive. Because I think a lot of the time people think, well, I'm not a channeler, I can't channel.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can channel, it's your
Mm-hmm.
birthright. Um, it's just that your receptors, your antennas get dirty.
Yeah.
And while you're in this moment of stillness, they're getting kind of dusted off.
Yeah.
And you're able to receive without the noise and without the chaos and without life and without all the thoughts and without all the things, right? And the outside influence of people and whatnot. So if you ask a question, I think your ego mind is always going to be like, well, I can't channel because I'm just going to make up the answer myself.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised at ask a question you don't know the answer to and see what comes through because you're going to receive some sort of thought form or some sort of answer in some way or some sort of visual. And you'll know it's not you when you receive an answer you didn't know,
Yeah.
you know?
So correct
So
me if
that's
I'm
how you kind
wrong.
of,
Pretty
yeah.
much, sorry to interrupt. So a lot
No,
of
no, go
people
ahead.
they're seeking for answers, right? But
Mhm.
the key to it is pretty much the first step is observation, right? As you said, we have
Always
layers and
awareness.
layers and
Awareness is the
layers.
portal. Awareness is the portal. Hmm.
Yeah. So first is awareness, then to slow down, as you said, your exhale should be slower than your inhale. And just then we're stepping in this phase, right?
Yeah, at some point, when you've sat for a while and you're coming back from your thoughts with the awareness and you're observing your breath and your exhales longer and you're regulating your nervous system, it's like your channel's going to open, your receiver's going to be cleaned off, you're going to be more in alignment with being able to receive guidance. So if you ask a question, and you don't need to ask like the most important question of your life, do I need to move? Do I need to get a divorce? I mean, don't go that big, right? When you're first starting off. Um, you can ask the question, what should I make for dinner tonight? You can ask the question, what could I do that would make me feel more aligned with my purpose right now in
Mm-hmm.
life? Um, what can I do to nurture the relationship with my daughter? Whatever you want to ask. If you're not really sure and something comes to you,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's because someone's talking to you.
Wow. So pretty much to start consistently talking to yourself with awareness, right? Not just flow with those thoughts.
Yeah, because most of the time when we're talking to ourselves, it's, oh no, did I say that right? Gosh, I wish I could go back and what do they think of me now? And, it's that kind of monkey mind. It's
Yeah.
the criticism, it's the critical, um, didn't do it good enough, should have done it different mind, or it's the, okay, I have to go to the store, then I have to get gas, and I have to get the kids. It's like the to-do list, or it's the criticism, or it's the endless thoughts, right? You could see a car drive by and be thinking of anything in the world, and that car reminds you of a car from whatever, and now you're back when you were 4, right? Like your mind goes so quick traveling down because you're not aware. You're like, how the hell did I get here, right? Like you just have so many thoughts all day that you're not aware of. So if you take the time to become aware, you're meditating, you're quieting your mind, you're saying yes to your expansion, you're opening up the possibility to receive guidance that you are constantly receiving but possibly are not seeing or
Yeah.
hearing.
Wow, I love that. As you said, like we do a lot of actions by its own, like how we go the same route we know, and we're just
Mm-hmm.
not aware of it. So yeah, thank you so much for explaining that in that simple way, I would say, because
Yeah.
I think the people who never practice meditation, they might think that it's something complicated or you have to dedicate years to it, and
Yeah.
I think this is the great way to start, or even to those who practicing it, just bring it back.
Yep.
Yep. So, what do you do for yourself, if you don't mind to share it, to stay resourced when you're giving so much to others? I think this question is hitting a lot some of the practitioners. So,
Yeah.
and it might be really helpful as well.
As a light worker or an energy worker or an empath, or a healer or a channeler, there's many different names people call themselves when they're here for a bigger purpose and to connect with the metaphysical world. Um, I think a lot of the times there are very simple things we can do that we just weren't aware of. And so there are a lot of people who say to me, I just feel like I'm taking on everyone else's energy. And so to that, I would say ground. You need to learn how to ground yourself. You can do that simply by imagining a thick cord coming from your belly, going down all the way down into the core of the earth, wrapping around and keeping you tethered to the earth so that even when you're energetically in other realms or pulling in from the above, you're tethered below. You can do that by standing outside and putting your feet in the grass. You can do that by holding a heavy object like a rock. These type of things will ground your energy. The other thing I wasn't aware of, was how to close a circle or close a reading or close the energetic experience that I just had. A couple of times recently during my breathwork journey in home, I have direct voice channeled entities and spirits where they actually I close my eyes and they come through my voice and my voice changes a little bit and my body is moving with every word they say. And that is like voltage running through me. And I'm like, oh my God, what just happened at the end? It's incredible, but it's also like, guys, we got to find a different way to do that because that is really overwhelming. So I learned to afterwards, once everybody leaves, to say, I now close my channel at the level appropriate for whatever you want to put in there: ease, rest, clarity, alignment, um, nervous system regulation. And like that you're declaring you're the one that has the control over your energy system. And then that helps you close off any sort of open energetic
Mm-hmm.
field that doesn't feel good in your body. Also saying things like, I now release all energy that doesn't belong to me,
Mm-hmm.
or um, I, the other thing is closing the channel. People think, well, if I close my channel, then I won't be able to have this two-way communication with the beyond. That's not true. It's just sometimes it's blasted. It's like at a 96%, you need it at like a 12%.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something I've been teaching people lately. I had somebody come to a breathwork journey the other day, and she's definitely not of this world. And she is just always up in the air, and she's saying, she's hardly even here because she's so in this other realm. And it's really hard for her to be in this 3D world and to integrate. And I said, you need to learn how to close your channel, because right now it's open so much. And that's what's creating this really hard ability to be in both places at once. So if you close your eyes and you visualize, like maybe your channel is this golden portal of a circle, what percentage would you say it's open right now? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I got 86%. And I go, because right now I see it as like an 86%. And she goes, yeah, I just got 90. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we're both seeing it at that level of openness. So say that you would like to close your channel, um, because it's too wide, and she watches as the hole comes down and comes down and comes down to a level that, is like at a 13%. And then how does that feel? It's like, well, that feels a lot more
Mm-hmm.
doable. It feels like I feel more grounded. I feel like I can navigate the 3D. So closing the channel, everybody's trying to learn how to open their channel, right? And
Yeah.
receive, and not a lot of people, I don't think, are understanding that there's a practice to also close it so that you feel like you can be here. Because again, a lot of these people who work in the light, they're like, I take on other people's energy. I don't feel grounded. I feel like bleh, I feel overwhelmed. I feel drained, really drained after an energy session with someone. These are all practices that they can do to help them feel more regulated.
Yeah, I agree because we have to function here somehow. And as I
Mhm.
understand, you're pretty much approaching the source directly to guide you in that exact moment, what will be the best to make sure the path is clear, right?
Yeah, because you always have that connection with source. You're an extension of source, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the guidance and the channeling is always happening. You're just not always listening, and you're not always able to hear it because life. And so you already have that. That's why people say it's or everything you need is within you. It's because of
Mm-hmm.
this connection already residing within you. If you don't need something from the external world, everything you have is the connection that's residing within you. And so when you're able to um, become aware and kind of observe that and go, okay, I don't really like how it feels when, you know, I am around somebody and then I feel their energy, or when I do a channeling and but then I can't ground. Like whatever it is, you just talk to the source, as below, so above, the
With
outside, the
awareness.
inside, however you want to imagine it. Your higher self, your heart space center, however you want to imagine it. You just speak to that part of you and say, we have to figure out a way that it doesn't feel that way. I mean, so let's ground, or let's close the channel, or show me how I can do this with ease. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll just learn practical tools that you can then implement in the 3D world to make the energy work, not as feeling like it's off kilter.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much because I know many people who love help others and sometimes I'm also might be a part of it, to forget how to take care about myself, which is
Yeah.
always available, right? And thank you so much for the reminders of to be aware and to be present and availability of that.
I
So,
also think people get
yep.
really, I think people get really overwhelmed by when people say, like, the goal is to be present. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, but life and so much, and
What's
like, okay,
then?
but right. It's like, that's why I'm like, just 10 minutes, just do 10 minutes, just 10
Hmm.
minutes. Don't, beat yourself up over not being present all the time. Just take the 10 minutes, sit with yourself, give that gift to yourself, and have that be present. Because once you do that, you open a door energetically. And then there are other moments that you will be more aware and you will be more present. It's a ripple effect, it's a domino effect. It won't just be in those 10 minutes where you feel more present. You will start to feel more present in your life as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I also saying that it's, like a muscles. So you don't have to,
Oh,
you
it's an
know,
energetic muscle you practice for sure. You don't go to the gym
yeah,
and pick up a 50-pound weight. You pick up a 5-pound weight and you work your way up. Same with this. You don't sit down and meditate for 2 hours and have no thoughts. It's
yeah.
a ridiculous
And
thing
as
to
you
think
said,
that you're going to be capable of doing.
and yeah, and as you said, we're just dedicated to a certain amount of time. And then
Mhm.
when you do it consistently for a little while, I would say those muscles, they're staying with you if you're just a bit
100%.
practicing, practicing, practicing.
Yeah. And if you don't want to start at 10 minutes, start at 5. Just start somewhere.
Yep. Great. So you went through something significant yourself before you started helping others. Would you share that?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think most people do. I think most people walk through the fire somehow so that they are able to help others not fear their own flames and go through something where they can turn their pain into purpose. And that's where they start to come online with their calling, right? You can't serve others without any lived experience. And so I think the beautiful part of being a healer, if you will, is that you're taking the really hard things and the traumas and the not so pretty things that you've endured, and you're using what you've learned from that to help others who are going through the same thing. So, um, the 5 hours that I was sitting with plant medicine 3 years ago really changed absolutely everything for me. And I remembered who I came here to be. I remembered choosing this life. I remembered coming here to heal generational trauma. I remembered being a cycle breaker and having the father that I had and the things happen to me that I had happen to me with him because I would choose to do things differently and heal the line for my children and every generation moving forward. I saw a gray mass literally leave my body and fly away in the moment that I realized all of this. I had the most amazing things happen. And one of the most powerful was my guide said, I will be your higher self as you walk through this medicine. I didn't really understand what she meant, but she said, like, it will be like talking to your higher self and I will be like a mirror. I'm like, okay. So when it was very uncomfortable, don't get me wrong, I was in the fetal position crying for most of this. It was very
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, also a beautiful experience. And at one point, after I had slayed generational trauma and like come back to my awareness as who I was here to be and my purpose and why I went through everything and turned my pain into purpose with my father and all the things, I thought, okay, whew, we're done. That was amazing. But that was one of many, many awakenings that day. And so I had this terrible, icky feeling in my stomach again. And I said, oh, I thought we were done. And she said, you have a dysregulated nervous system. And I went, oh my God, I have a dysregulated nervous system. I've never even heard anybody say that before. But you're right. And I've had it my entire life. It's like that stomach flipping, uncomfortable, I'm wounded, or I told a lie not to tell my mom about it, or it's that feeling that should be reserved for when you hear your kid fall out of a tree or when you hear two cars crash.
Mm-hmm.
That fight or flight, like, oh, was happening when it shouldn't have happened. And then I started to trace it back to that is why I search for external validation. That's why I speak the way I speak. That's why my wounds are always being triggered. That's why this, that's why. And I was just like, whoa. And she said, yes, but is that feeling still at a level 10 or is it less? And I sat there and the most magical thing happened. I watched as the feeling, that stomach flippy feeling, would come up at a lower level at like an 8, and then my brain would swipe left. And I don't know how I was even witnessing this, but it would come up then at a 6, and my brain would swipe left. And I watched as my brain rewired my dysregulated nervous system into a regulated one. And as I sat here trying to figure out how on earth I was watching my brain, let alone how my nervous system was being rewired,
Mm-hmm.
she leaned in and said, "You're swiping left." And I was like, in that moment, I don't even have word. How am I seeing what my brain is doing? First of all, how are you seeing what my brain is doing? That's a better question, right? Like in that moment, limitations were completely shattered. I then understood energy is capable of absolutely anything. Miracles are the norm. Like any limiting belief I had about the unseen or the power of energy was gone. And I watched as it rewired, and I have not had a dysregulated nervous
Mm-hmm.
system for 3 years. It was over that day. And
Wow.
I learned so much from that. I learned that underneath everything, for everyone, in anything they're experiencing, is a dysregulated nervous system. If you're struggling
100%.
with grief, your nervous system feels dysregulated. If you're struggling with unworthiness, your nervous system is dysregulated. If you are recirculating back to old patterns and you're not able to break through, your nervous system's dysregulated. I just couldn't believe, the change that could happen for people if they learned how to regulate their nervous system. They would receive with more ease. They would step into the higher version of themselves. They would change their lives. And so I've been on a mission ever since then to integrate that into, my one-on-one clients. And I have a conscious creation container where people come to work with me once a week for 4 weeks, and they don't leave the same. And part of it is because we talk about and feel into the nervous system and how can we take it from like the wounded child
Yeah.
that's running the show to the powerful adult you've become and what you're actually capable of.
Wow. Thank you
That
so
was
much
that,
for
that was a lot of,
touching.
that was a lot of depth right there. We went deep.
Thank you so much for touching this topic because, this is literally what I've been through about my nervous system, and I think it's the key. And as you said, I wish everyone can feel it, and taste it when it's done, when it's healed. And
Yes.
let's say this your new self, right? Healed self.
Mhm.
What you would say to yourself 10 years ago, to that version of you, from
Oh,
your standpoint right now?
10 years ago. She would say, everything that you're going through right now serves a purpose. You signed up for a mission, and in order to unlock what that is and the incredible magnitude at which you will help others heal, you have chosen to experience certain things. This too shall pass. And the day that is presented to you where you come back to your awareness, I'm getting emotional, and realize what you came here to do will make it all worth it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Everything that's happening right now and everything that will happen is happening for you, not to you.
I think those are really important words because when we're all going through sort of circumstances as we think, sometimes we're thinking, why, right? And as you said,
Yeah.
we're not seeing it in a way what for. So, and let's say if someone is watching this and thinking, oh, I think this is me, right? This might be about me. So, what do you want to say to them?
It is. First of all, if you think this might be about you, it is. If this resonates, it is. If you feel like the magic is real, it is. And you have just as much ability to access what other people you look up to have accessed as them. There's literally nothing standing in your way but maybe a dysregulated nervous system and some limiting beliefs.
Right.
It's not as hard. My whole thing in collapsing timelines and getting people to like point from point A to point B quicker than they normally would without me in the field that I create is that we don't need to make everything so complicated. Not everything has to be this huge, like, I can never get past that. I could never be someone different. I could never learn to do that. I don't know. I could never find my purpose. It's like, yes, yes, you can. And it doesn't need to be as hard as you think.
Yeah.
There's magic. There's magic at play here. And if there's magic at play here, then you're a limitless being and anything is possible.
Thank you so much, because I think it might be really important for someone to hear that right now, because we love make things complicated. As you said, our monkey mind jump
Yeah.
here, and that, and sometimes it's just like feels too complicated. But I believe that a person needs a person in this journey. So, how can people find you and work with you? So, I'll pin this information below the video so that everyone, who's feeling it's their calling, they can reach out.
Yes, for the souls who are seeking me, that I'm seeking as well. Um, my Instagram handle is the Jessica Cathey channel. That's the same for my website, thejessicacathychannel.com, and my last name, Cathey. Those are the easiest ways to get in touch with me. And I'm able to offer remote sessions as well. So I work with people all over the world. They don't need to be where I live.
Nice, nice. So, yeah, I'm always thinking, for those who are connecting with the source, there are no limits, pretty much. So thank you so much for sharing, and it was an honor to have you here. So to everyone watching, I have one question for all of you. What did this conversation open up in you? Maybe something shifted, even just a little. So if you found yourself thinking about something or feeling something, so don't let it go. um, that's the whole point
Don't
pretty
let it
much
go.
of this. Please share it with us, connect, reach out, let's talk. So reach out to Jessica, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next in my channel, and go and find Jessica, follow her in social media. Her info is below. So until next time.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. And thank you for the work you're doing in the world.
Thank you.